You've got these apps like the baby in yellow. Then there is another app called Ice Scream. Then there is another app called Evil Nun. And then Poppy Playtime. These are apps that are readily available, games that are readily available, where kids can go perform tasks, and eventually these tasks mess around with the psychology of the child, leading to even death.
Virtual boyfriends, virtual girlfriends, and everything that is there in the real world was given and in fact served on a silver platter. I had expected a lot more from the parents. You allowed the children to grow by default in state of utter vegetation and eat out of the hands of the Korean Games app.
It's very, very important to understand that this is an entire economy that is being built. When there are people who are spending billions and billions of dollars to keep other people addicted, and there is a reason for it.
If you are indifferent to your parental responsibilities, please think twice before becoming a parent. If you're not able to give your undivided attention to your children, please think 100 times before becoming a parent.
You and I are not digital natives. My children are. I will not even know what is happening in that device, no matter how many checks I put in. That's the nature of internet.
As parents, we start reprimanding them for small things like you lost a sharpener, you didn't eat your carrots. So when the child actually gets into a large crisis, now if I tell them that I shared my photographs to somebody and it's morphed now, what will they think about me? What will they say to me?
As a parent, sometimes I do feel that I have been a bit too harsh, and then unfortunately, like most urban parents, you get into this instant guilt, and kids are so smart, they know how to play on your guilt. Hello and welcome. You're watching me, Sanket Upadhyay, on TheFederal. The show is called AI with Sanket. This is the AI of news because news in India today requires not artificial but analytical intelligence. An extremely disturbing story from Delhi's neighborhood, Ghaziabad, where 3 children, teenagers, killed themselves while performing a task they were assigned in an online game. Yes, an online game all kids are addicted to. These are some Korean games that these children were playing. They were trying to fill in a void within their family. The father tried to inquire what these kids are doing. They had Korean names. They were living an alternate lifestyle. They imagined they are in Korea. They had imaginary Korean friends. All of this in a small neighborhood in Ghaziabad, Delhi's neighborhood, just 10-12 kilometers from the national capital. Ghaziabad is also a buzzing city. While they imagined they were in Korea, in this make-believe world, these apps forced them to perform certain tasks, messed up with their mind, gave them false identity and a fake sense of achievement, and also a fake sense of despair. The result? When the father took away the phone, these 3 kids died by suicide. They left a very, very disturbing note as well. This entire incident has brought back to focus the ugly, ugly side of online gaming. The life that urban kids are leading and how disconnected parents are from this reality. In this discussion, we are going to speak to former police officers. We're also going to speak to child psychologists in trying to understand how to prevent this from happening in your own household. Remember, this was a tragic incident that may have happened in Ghaziabad and a string of other cases all over the world. But because this generation is a digital native and hooked on to that phone, and you're not even aware what is happening in that phone or the handheld device, your home could be next. All right, so joining us right now is Dr. Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh and also an educationist. Thank you very much. This is a huge issue of concern. You deal with children now, with kids, with young adults, and you would have a pulse on what exactly is happening right now, because this is the buzz These online games are an addiction in college campuses and university campuses as well. We have Aarti C. You're a child psychologist. What happened in Ghaziabad with these kids is not an isolated incident, but it is a tragedy waiting to unfold in every household. And that is how this must be seen as a national emergency. It's a national crisis. I would like to begin with you first, Dr. Vikram Singh. First of all, your opening comments on what you are aware of the facts of the case. You've seen how it unfolded, the emotional letters these daughters wrote to their father. It was just a complete collapse of an entire system in a society that exists to protect these children, isn't it?
Good afternoon, Sanketji. Good afternoon, ma'am. You, in your opening remarks, has felt that we allowed this tragedy to grow underneath our feet, and by drift, by looking the other way. Parental failure, upbringing, there was no upbringing whatsoever. 9 people staying in the same flat, husband, wife, Badi Ma, I don't know what Badi Ma would mean, a Sali, and these 4 children, 3 sisters and 2 more. And 2 years, the children do not go to school. Is this not a horrible fault line? The children, the 3 girls, 12, 14, 16, being addicted to Korean games. I think that I had expected a lot more from the parents. You allowed the children to grow by default in state of utter vegetation and eat out of the hands of the Korean games app, and virtual boyfriends, virtual girlfriends, and everything that is there in the real world was given and in fact served on a silver platter to the trusting girls on impressionable minds. And then they were mesmerized and conditioned to a state that they could dictate terms and compel them to commit suicide also. And it's not the first time that they ended in a suicide. They committed twice 2 attempts also earlier. The parents were, it seems, were silent spectators. And in fact, where I would not like to make allegation, but I and my own, whatever facts are there, they were instrumental into the state of vegetation of the children. They are equally complicit and responsible. And you very rightly mentioned that the logic given by children today is so disconcerting. And perhaps Aarti ji would like to enlighten all of us, because this scary situation, the terrible situation that we have inherited in the real and the virtual world is more, in fact, is as horrible and demanding as the COVID and the pandemic itself.
Ms. Aarti, just want to bring you in here. You see, it is a very, very common practice now, extremely common practice, and all of us are guilty. All of us are. We ourselves are addicted to our handheld devices, and we feel that the best way to soothe the youngsters is to give them a screen. That will and it has become some sort of a compulsion also. These days you try removing the phone or the screen, and then they will suddenly start missing homework. They would suddenly start missing a whole host of activities which are also online. I just want to know from you, not just this case which DGP Vikram Singh spoke about, generally this as a problem, not an isolated but a national problem, international, like a world over, this is the problem. How do you look at this, and how does one deal with this?
See, now it's very easy to shift blame, etc., because I feel that we have to look for solutions. We'll have to get to the root of the problem. It's very, very important to understand that this is an entire economy that is being built, right? So when there are people who are spending billions and billions of dollars to keep other people addicted, and there is a reason for it, we are not going to find solutions in simplistic things. This kind of indoctrination started in the early 2000s, if you realize it, where, you had movies where they talked about, what will happen if you're in surveillance all the time. There are a lot of famous movies that came out at that time. And right from that time, that seed that your child is not safe was being planted in the minds of children. So when the screens actually came out in 2009, most people were ready to, have a surveillance camera somewhere in the house. They were willing to stay connected all the time, etc., etc., etc. And a lot more money has been pumped in to build in the algorithms, etc., etc. So now when we look at this whole thing, it's not an isolated incident. And like you rightly said, it is a global issue. Many countries have stepped up to, ban social media for certain age groups. They're making healthy decisions around that. But when all of this does exist, I still believe that where the solutions lie are in what we call attuned parenting. And when I say the word attunement, it means understanding a person's need and responding. So for example, when you want to ask a question, you're specifically processing it in your mind, you're wondering how to word it in the right way so that both of us can get into a very healthy discussion. And that is attunement. Now earlier, mothers and fathers, caregivers would know when a baby cried that this cry is for hunger, this is because my baby is bored, and they would
Yes.
meet that, because that would build what is called the self-soothing behaviors that were really essential. However, now any cry that the baby has, and at any age group, we give them a screen and we distract them. So we remove the child's ability to reflect and self-soothe, and we keep them distracted and addicted on the outside. And this starts very early. We've been documenting virtual autism. We've been documenting speech and language delays. We've been talking about social and emotional, disruptions in the development. And still, what happens is, because there is a lot of revenue that is generated from any of these screen-based apps and these games and all of this, nobody wants to take a call on this. And the most important part is that children are vulnerable, because as far as the governments go, they are not the voting public. So when your vote doesn't matter, I don't really need to bring you into my policy making. So there are so many levels of truth in this. So though this incident is shocking, I think it's a collective wake up call for all of us, as from your side, from the angle of journalism, from Sir's side, from my side, educational institutions, all of us. I think we have to step up collectively and realize that we are being bought. We are being bought, and anything that is free, you are the commodity. And I think the faster we realize that, the better it will be.
That's right. Dr. Vikram, just quickly coming back to you, you see, Ms. Aarti mentioned something very, very important: attuned parenting. I agree. But that is a solution that will begin at home. The problem is that these multi-million, billion conglomerates of gaming, which is now frankly killing people, killing children, and it is being allowed to grow and going unchecked. That is not something which attuned parenting will be able to achieve. For instance, I may be a very attuned parent, but for children, what happens is their environment, their friend circle, that dictates much more than, and particularly at a certain age, than whatever your parenting can offer. At that time, governments come in, institutions come in. So I want to know from you, what can be done?
Sanketji, words of profound wisdom from Miss Aarti, and I'm happy that I shared that wisdom from her. And indeed, I would say I'm 100% agreement with her. Attuned parenting. I'll recite 2 lines of Akbar Ilahabadi. हम उन किताबों को समझते हैं काबिले ज़ब्ती जिनको पढ़ के औलाद समझते हैं माँ बाप को खपती. Today, the entire ecosystem of neurotic pursuit of consumerism have reduced parenting to an age that either you are senile or museum specimens. If the child is an adolescent, if the child is not an adolescent, parenting is a tapasya, it is a tapascharya. It is not a pursuit of hedonism and pleasure. Unfortunately, it has been relegated to a level of hedonism and pleasure. I would say that the parents also, this is a wake-up call for all parents, right across, of all age groups. If you are indifferent to your parental responsibilities, please think twice before becoming a parent. If you're not able to give your undivided attention to your children, please think 100 times before becoming a parent. And if you have become a parent, well, devote whatever time, affection, and also whatever care you can give to your children, because they are part of divinity. They are there with you only for about maybe 18 or 19 years. Then you'd be on your own again. Therefore, I would say parenting, very gentle, no coercive measures, because coercion today can be very, very counterproductive. The days of spare the rod and spoil the child are long, long over. It is punishable in law also, but attuned parenting, yes, there are always the best way of doing everything. And what we can do today, perhaps with the help of wonderful, wonderful people like Miss Aarti, there is always a best way of channelizing the energies of adolescents, 12, 14, and 16. They died before their time. They had the entire future ahead of them. But yes, I would say that perhaps the parents could have done much better. There are things that they could have sent to school. They could have been channeled otherwise. But yes, the laws of economics and the laws of profit have overtaken the laws of propriety and in the index of human happiness.
But you see, Dr. Vikram, my question was different. My point is, let me present a situation, and this is heartfelt. This is personal in nature. You and I are not digital natives. My children are. And now it is extremely important for them to have a device for all the online classes that happen, homeworks, teachers sharing assignments. You can't not give a phone to a teenager now. It's humanly impossible. Either you leave your job and then you do this yourself and call it attuned parenting. But my point is, a device is a necessity for education itself. And since I'm not a digital native, and since they have access to that device, and because of peer pressure, I will not even know what is happening in that device, no matter how many checks I put in. That's the nature of internet, free flowing. So at this moment, what can governments, institutions, and at a national level, organizations do?
I'll tell you one thing, Sanket ji, that there are two or three. There can be no quick fix solutions and cut and dried solutions, but we can make an honest attempt to do that. What some good parents have done is that they give push button phones for the children to take to school so that they are connected. When they come back home, they are given iPads and other smartphones so that they can work on their homework and their tasks and also the assignments in front of the parents on the dining table, where everybody sits together. The parents work on their project, the children on their project. And of course, within the university, I would request both of you to come and pay a visit. We have blocked all kinds of objectionable sites, including the pornographic sites and also the Korean game sites and dating apps, etc. We have blocked them. This is the least and I can say nothing is fail-proof or foolproof.
Share this example in detail, Dr. Vikram, because let me just quickly tell our viewers, Dr. Vikram Singh was not just the former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, he is also the head of a very prestigious university called Noida International University. I would want to know from you, Dr. Singh, if you could tell us what has your experiment and experience been in dealing with situations like this, particularly online menace?
Like all institutions, we have a Wi-Fi. That is, Wi-Fi in the whole campus is free for the students and the faculty. But that is for academic pursuits, not for hedonistic and other pleasure-seeking activities. Therefore, all such apps, all such frivolous activities, those sites are blocked. You are welcome to go and read journals. You are welcome to go and read the memoirs and the books and the library. You can also go update yourself in respect of general knowledge and current affairs. But if you want to choose to go and play Korean games, rest assured, you will not be able to play Korean games. And then, of course, we have a system that those who try to go and access objectionable and pornographic sites, we will come to know of it. Then the child or that person will be counseled appropriately without disclosing the names, etc. Because what she is trying to access, she will not be able to access during the university hours. But yes, our IT experts would come to know who has tried to access what, right? And then the child,
even if they use VPN, virtual network.
Of course, we have that ground intelligence, and then we have IT intelligence. Don't forget for a moment that I'm a former police officer. I have ways of knowing who does what, and then I can read faces also. Therefore, doubled up with the IT intelligence, the physical intelligence, I can know the physiognomy and the MRI, the CT scan of the scholar.
And we all know, I remember the year 2006, 2007, 2007 actually, when Dr. Vikram Singh was the DGP of Uttar Pradesh. We've interviewed you many a times, and your straight talk, by the way, Ms. Aarti, not very many people know, Dr. Singh once, in order to check something in Kanpur, decided to dress up as a civilian and take an auto rickshaw ride just to see what the police is doing. So he's been that sort of a hands-on cop. So when he says that he can look at the face and figure out, I believe
he probably is meaning it. Yes. So
and we need
an honor
more
to be on the panel along with you. Such an honor.
Exactly.
To be on the panel
we need more people like Dr. Singh.
Like him.
Now, Miss Aarti, just quickly coming back to, trust me, this is personal. As a very concerned parent, I want to know. I am not a digital native. Even if I try very, very hard to educate myself, to upskill myself, know everything about each and every game, every day is a revelation. For instance, kids these days have 2 Instagram accounts. One is to share with parents, the other is only for their, classmates.
Peer group, yes.
Exactly. I didn't know this. It's a new learning. So I am trying to upskill myself, but how much is too much? And then phone is a necessity. I may be slightly upwardly mobile to be more aware about digital changes. Other parents may not. So then what do you do?
So none of us, I'm also not a digital native. I'm in fact more mechanical than most people. But having said that, since I work with schools, I work with a lot of young people. One of the things that I've realized is that we don't even know how to make money. Many of them know how to hack into sites, how to, convert points. They get points on these games. They go to the Kirana shop and they're able to cash in those points. So there is a huge network that we will never be aware of. But what I want us to understand is that in every generation we've had things that we've hidden from the parents, and that is part of our identity development. It's important for us to also have slightly risky behaviors, because those risky behaviors teach us what is right and what is wrong. You can't keep children in sterile, completely safe environments and expect them to know how to function in life. So this will happen, and it's just the difference is that we probably did it with very minor things where the safety aspect was not so compromised as digital platforms. But having said this, what we can do as parents, as teachers, as educators is very important. Number one is to build that trusting equation. Many times what has happened is, especially in the current India that we live in, both parents are working, they're doing extra shifts, they're working shifts which are in line with another country, so many things. So that actual quality time that they get with the child to be able to bond, to have a conversation, to be able to, troubleshoot, etc., is not really available. So I normally suggest, especially to urban parents, is to build what is called a connection ritual. And a ritual is something that you will do every day, but it's something that's penciled into your everyday routine, and you will do it. So for example, it can be a fun time. You go out for a walk, you play badminton, you bond on something that is screen free. The child needs to have an adult who is a safe space. And when I say you are the safe space, what should happen is they should have their fun. They should have all of the masti and the mischief that is entitled to them. But we also need to know that when something is going wrong, when something is off, they should have that space which is in the connection ritual to come back and say, Papa, I'm having a difficulty with this. Somebody is bullying me online. I got onto this site. This is not okay. What happens is, as parents, we start reprimanding them for small things like you lost a sharpener, you didn't eat your carrots. So when the child actually gets into a large crisis, they say, even for not eating my carrots, they insulted me so much. Now, if I tell them that I shared my photographs to somebody and it's morphed now, what will they think about me? What will they say to me? So we need to realize that in the connected, attuned parenting, it's not that we won't reprimand them. Like Sir beautifully said, we are not going to punish them. We're not going to be punitive. Our approach, we need to understand that there are three things that any of us does. One is an error. The second is a mistake. The third is a crime. Error is where I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the intention. So when I go on, I'm looking online and there's a pop-up of a porn site. That's an error. I didn't know that it's not something I shouldn't see. In that case, what the parent needs to do is to child-proof. You can have a firewall, you can have apps that can filter your information, etc. Mistake is where I have the knowledge, but I don't have the intention. And so here what needs to be done is I give choices. Beta, if you want to go onto the internet, you can sit at the dining table where everybody is. But if you want to, just use the, you're not going onto the internet, then you can use it in your room. So those kind of, you give choices when there is a mistake. I have the knowledge, but I don't have the intention. And crime is where I have the knowledge and I have the intention, and I deliberately involve myself in something. And if you really look at it, when we have healthy equations, the likelihood of a child committing a crime that is intentionally causing harm to another one goes down by almost 97%. In 3% of cases, there will be a problem, but we need to understand that in our parenting and in our teaching, if we know the difference between an error, mistake, and a crime, we will know whether to child-proof, whether to give options, or whether to use a corrective measure where the child is able to make a change in behavior, as opposed to just
Beautifully
shaming the
put.
child, putting them down, etc. We are not looking at it in context, and that's where I feel that the change can start.
Miss Aarti, beautifully put. This is such
Thank you.
a lesson for me also, because as a parent, sometimes I do feel that I have been a bit too harsh, and then unfortunately, like most urban parents, you get into this instant guilt, and kids are so smart, they know how to play on your guilt. So they will get their way also. So they will let you scold them and then extract their pound of flesh. Dr. Singh, I again come back to institutional response to a crisis like this, as this is a national, international problem. You see, attuned parenting and what I need to do, I will do, right? But what do governments have to do? For instance, these are specific apps designed to fill in that void in a child's life by giving them specific tasks. Pretend to be a friend. There are many kids who have befriended ChatGPT. Are you aware? And then you've got these apps like the baby in yellow. Then there is another app called Ice Scream. Then there is another app called Evil Nun. And then Poppy Playtime. These are apps that are readily available, games that are readily available, where kids can go perform tasks, and eventually these tasks mess around with the psychology of the child, leading to even death. What do I expect of my government for apps like these?
Wonderful question, Sanketji. I would say that every institution, every individual has a duty to perform. The government cannot be a passive spectator to all this that is happening, the cancerous spread of these venomous apps. There should also be a certification by a team of experts which apps can be available on Google Play and which apps are malignant and therefore need to be taken down. I would also suggest registration of a case in respect of abetment to commit suicide if it is proved that these apps are responsible under the IT Act. The application is universal. Let us make an honest beginning to register cases, punish them, and have heavy penalty imposed on these organizations and these app sponsors. Therefore, we have to make an honest beginning. But the fact of the matter is, RPG has put very beautifully sumptuous takeaways from your profound words of wisdom that yes, that these apps and this ecosystem will have to be tackled heads on, and then everybody has to be responsible for that. And the government has a role to play. Let the team of experts, and then in Viksit Bharat, we do have a team of IT professionals who identify that these apps are safe and these apps are unsafe. And those are unsafe have to be taken off the shelf. And those who persist in black marketing these apps, well, there should be consequences for them.
Miss Aarti, would you like to weigh in? I mean, we've discussed good attuned parenting enough, but my good parenting will not help me stop an app from entering the phone. That can only be done at an institutional level, especially when we know that it is some sort of Korean fantasy, task-based fantasy where tasks will be given which will eventually lead to extremely lethal consequences.
Right. So where I would step in as a psychologist is that we need to understand that the shrinking play spaces, children don't actually have safe spaces to go out and play. A small playground, things like that, where they can actually indulge in social interaction. See, because I can't be all the time with my child as a parent. I need to also allow them to have interaction with others, and for that, the play spaces need to be there. Secondly, I need to also ensure that, in schools or in other spaces, they have classes which are easy to access. And, many families may not be able to afford very expensive classes, but can we have some kind of small things like singing together, art, because for any beautiful change to happen, there must be a lot of, the child must have a range of experiences. And if I can weigh in on this, see, they always compare Tiger Woods and Roger Federer. Tiger Woods was sent into golf right from when he was, 2 years old. But Roger Federer, because both his parents were, I think, physical education teachers, he got to play all games till he was 15 and then choose tennis. So if you notice, Tiger Woods went in for a burnout very early. But Roger Federer, on the other hand, that he's still going strong. Though he's retired, he's one of the most inspirational people in the field of, when you look at it, tennis as a field. So what I'm asking parents to do is, you may not be there all the time, but give your children opportunities to develop many, many skills. They don't need to come out with mastery in everything. But when you have these tasks that are there in real life, the tasks on an internet game are not going to be so interesting. Because what will happen is, I would have tried something more exciting when I was much younger. And so this task for validation, external validation, may not hold so much value. So I hope that makes some sense.
Oh, absolutely, it makes sense. Do you know, to both of you, I just want to say, only yesterday my son walked up to me and he said that my music teacher told me something very interesting. He said that in order to educate yourself, you must educate others. And the idea behind this concept was that it will work as an affirmation to reaffirm. you will constantly know what is right because you will be imparting that knowledge to others. And I thought that we could use perhaps all of this in journalism as well. To keep saying the right thing so that you tell yourself that you have got to be right. And I hope parenting is the same as well. DGP Vikram Singh, Aarti ji, thank you so much. It was an enriching conversation with the two of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.